All right, welcome folks. My name is Matt Cornwell. I work directly in the Saunders College of Business here at RIT. I work with all of our prospective undergrad and graduate business students. We appreciate you joining us tonight. A couple logistical things before we get started. My colleague, Peter Rosenthal, is on the call as well. Peter's our Director of Student Services. So he's going to be monitoring the chat. So any questions that you have, feel free to throw those in the chat. And certainly when we get to the end, you can certainly unmute yourself as well. But as we're going through the presentation, I am fine with answering questions as we go through things, but just bear with us. Peter will jump in with any questions as I'm sharing the PowerPoint and whatnot. But yeah, so tonight I'm going to kind of give an overview of our program portfolio, some of the different options we have. I did see that a lot of you did put in the chat what programs or areas you're thinking about. So if you haven't done that yet, feel free to do so, and feel free to throw what program or programs you're thinking about in the chat. That just helps guide us. There's certain programs that I don't need to cover tonight. I won't necessarily go into great detail, but it is good to have kind of an overall understanding of the full portfolio that we have. One thing that I will note that I think is really important to just keep in mind as we go through the presentation, this is a first step. It is a high level overview of what we offer, right? So just keep in mind that that this is meant to give you just kind of an understanding of what we offer, some high level intricacies of some of the programs. But after that, it's always prudent and a good thought to schedule one-on-one follow-up and just get a good sense of, what's going to work for you based on your fit, based on your interest, based on your background, because you're all coming at this with different experiences. So I really want to stress that you're going to get some great information tonight, and it's going to, kind of be that guiding force in terms of what's going to be a good fit for you. But we definitely are willing to meet, and certainly that's one of my big roles is meeting with students in that one-on-one capacity to discuss options further and figure out what's going to work for you based on everything, life circumstances and all that good stuff. So the first portion here, I'm just gonna run through a few kind of components, high-level stuff related to Saunders. I'm not going to read verbatim what our mission and vision is. I think the biggest thing here is making enduring impact on organizations and the folks you're working with. Obviously, RIT is very, from a career standpoint and a co-op standpoint, we are very career-centric and career-oriented. So that spills over into our grad programs with very strong outcomes rates across the board with our undergrad and graduate programs. So these are just a few tidbits about Saunders. We are AACSB accredited. Only 5% of business schools hold that accreditation. So it's kind of the top echelon accreditation for business schools. It is an important thing to keep in mind, that accreditation piece, because it can be something that companies look for and will ask if you have a degree from an AACSB school. It's not uncommon for that to be, in a job requirement or something that companies will look favorably on as you go through that. So keep that in mind. We have just over 300 graduate students. For context, RIT is a large private university. We're the 11th or 12th largest private school in the country. So we have about 18,000 total students. Saunders is one of the smaller colleges within RIT's umbrella. So we have just over 1,100 total students within our undergrad and graduate program. So I think you get the best of both worlds from that perspective. You get that close-knit small college atmosphere, especially at the graduate level. And then you have the benefits of a large university and those large university regions. So that's something to keep in mind as you kind of go through the process, and just that helps hopefully contextualize kind of our size for those that aren't familiar with RIT. I know some of you are from RIT and are undergrads here currently, but it is good context for those that aren't. We are very diverse at the graduate level in terms of our international and other from a minority and diversity perspective, we're pushing, I would say we're getting close to that 50% mark for international students, as all of our programs are now STEM designated, except for one or two actually, a couple of the new programs that we have, like, but yeah, so that's another thing to keep in mind is that diversity element. And then you can see here some of the other elements here that I'm not going to read verbatim, but we do also have over 25,000 alumni. So that's certainly a good resource that you can leverage going forward, connecting with those folks that are in industry, those alumni that have graduated. We try and help students build mentor-mentee relationships too with folks, whether it's through an established program like our fellows program, or just, you know, opportunities to connect with alumni. A lot of them may come back and recruit for career fairs, and so you know, keep that in mind as well, is that we do have that large alumni network. Even though we are a small college, you know, obviously we've had many alumni go through Saunders. These are just a few of our rankings. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but we are in the top 100 for graduate business schools, number 90 as of U.S. News and World Report for 2022. And then you can see here some of the other rankings. We're number 3 at the undergrad level for MIS. That's from the College Factual for 2021, and that does spill over into our graduate programs, in a program in particular like business analytics, where a lot of our faculty are teaching at both levels, which is pretty common. So there's a few of those rankings here to peruse as well. All right. And then these are some of the key folks in our Office of Student Services. So I work with all of our prospective undergrad and graduate students. So basically from here until, you know, your first night of class, I can be a resource. And then Peggy Terrell oversees the admissions process for our graduate programs. So she's a key point person as you go through the process. You know, she tries and calls domestic students to congratulate them on acceptances, but she's key in working with our program directors to review applications and kind of go through that process. And then she's a key stakeholder as students progress through the program as well. And then Ann and Peter are both of our graduate academic advisors. We actually have just recently hired a new graduate academic advisor who would be your advisor come fall 2022. You know, that's something we're kind of hashing out and going through now. But so we do have 2 advisors, and these are staff members that their sole role is advising graduate students. So that's a little bit unique. A lot of times you see faculty in a lot of places advising grad students, but you'll have that resource from day one as well as you progress through the program. All right, so program offerings. So you can see here the different portfolio and different options that we have. We'll start. I always like to start this piece with the difference between an MBA and an MS degree. An MBA is a generalist degree by nature. So it establishes a foundation of business coursework in a bunch of different areas. So marketing, finance, accounting, management information systems, data analytics. All those foundational courses are courses you would take. And then you'll be able to elect a specialty area within the MBA to dive a little deeper. The MS degree is solely focused on whatever that area of study that you're looking at. So it is discipline specific. So if you're looking at business analytics, that's the coursework you're going to do. There are electives typically in the majority of our MS programs, but again, you can tailor those towards that discipline specific nature of the degree. Or you can look at other elements too, like for analytics, if you want to take a specific MIS course, or if you want to dive into like computer programming a little deeper, you can do that as long as you meet the prerequisites. So that's the big difference is the MBA is more generalist by nature, the MS degree is discipline specific. With the MBA, because of that generalist nature, it is a little bit of a lengthier program. I'll get into the length and some of the credits and things like that. However, we do have a 4+1 accelerated pathway for the MBA. I know somebody in the chat, at least one person mentioned they're in software engineering looking at the 4+1 MBA. Basically what we do is we take courses that you would take in business, and in some cases there's a select few of like software engineering courses that we can use and pair together to waive some of those foundational business courses in the MBA. That helps condense the program down to a lower credit threshold so you can get it done in that plus 1 year. So we can waive up to 6 courses, which would condense the program down to 30 credits. Now, it's not an all or nothing proposition necessarily. If you are able to get the 4 course waivers and condense the program down by 4 courses, that would get you to 36 credits, and you could complete the program in that plus 1 year. The accelerated program is designed for domestic students. If you're an international student and you attended a U.S. university and studied business, we could certainly look at courses as well, obviously, but it is designed for that pathway. And then you can complete the MBA full or part-time. We do have an executive MBA program as well. I'm not going to go into great detail on that program because we do have a central kind of group within our college that recruits and works directly with all of our EMBA students. But the biggest thing to note with the EMBA, it requires at least 6 years of professional work experience, doesn't require the GMAT or GRE because of that work experience, and it can be done on-site or online. And then with the MS degrees here, you can see I'm going to go a little more detail into each of these during the presentation, but 2 notes on the programs that I have starred here. So hospitality, business management, organizational leadership and innovation. Those are 2 MS programs that we're currently developing. Really, they're almost being redefined in essence. We used to have programs that fell in certain areas that we're kind of redeveloping. Those programs are currently with New York State, and we're in the approval process for those. Tough to say if they'll be available come fall 2022, but it is important to call that out, that those programs are options. They are both going to be online programs, so they can be done fully online in that capacity. So just keep that in mind as well, that those programs are coming on the pike. And if you are interested in those, certainly reach out to me and let me know if you have questions. The hospitality program, that one's looking like it may be more realistic for fall, but still not set in stone. Organizational leadership and innovation, that might not come till fall 2023, but we'll see where those go. And then we do have a couple advanced certificates as well. Okay, thank you, Peter, for answering that question. Yeah, so the MBA is an in-person program, and we don't have a fully online program. You can certainly take a few classes here and there online, but it's not something that can be done fully online. That's a good question. The only program outside of these ones that I have listed here on the MS side that are done fully online, we do have a fully online business analytics MS program. That is intentionally a part-time program because the students we're attracting are working typically full-time and taking the program on a part-time basis. So it does take a little bit longer to complete. Can't be done in just 1 year, but that is an option too as another online opportunity. All right, so before I go into some of the other curricular details with the programs, I do just want to reference some of the scholarship incentives that we have in place as well. Some of these are ever changing. COVID has certainly, had an impact on the scholarship amounts we're giving. We're actually giving quite a bit more than we have in the past because of COVID, and we recognize, that this is a big investment for folks, and we want to help as we can with that, of course. So the general scholarship range that we really work from is about 20% to 50%. Scholarships are by no means guaranteed, but generally speaking, if you're going to receive a scholarship, the minimum would be around 20%, and we usually go up by 10% increments, so 20, 30, 40, 50, generally speaking. 50 tends to be the highest that's available in terms of scholarship. The RIT Master Plan Scholarship. So for anybody who is an RIT student who is graduating either this May or even in the summer, you would be eligible for a 50% tuition scholarship. So that is something that if you're admitted, you would be able to receive that scholarship. It's something RIT is doing for its own students to try and entice them to stick around and stay for an extra year to earn that degree and then come out on the other end in good financial shape and be able to have something that you can carry away with you. For any RIT honors students, we're actually giving 55%, so a little bit more above that Master Plan Award. And then for the Leadership Fellows Program, this is a established professional kind of development program that we have in place where students can apply to gain some different professional development elements to their resume, work with other fellows, and also work with a mentor as you kind of go through that program. So there are industry mentors that you can work with in kind of a mentee-mentor relationship and build that. We actually rotate the mentors as well. So that's a 55% scholarship. An interview is required for that program. It is very competitive. You can certainly apply for that separately. And if folks have questions on that and are interested, I can certainly send a link. But we are accepting applications now for that on a rolling basis. And typically we get back to students, during the spring regarding if they've been accepted into that fellows program. And then anybody who is a New York State resident or graduated from a New York State college or university, we also have a Master Up New York scholarship that is a 30% tuition scholarship. So if you're accepted, you're a New York resident, or you graduated from a New York institution as an undergrad student or even a grad student, you would get a 30% tuition scholarship. And then if your merits, merit you getting more scholarship, we would look at that. But the minimum you would be looking at is 30% there. And then we also have 4+1 partnership agreements with 20 colleges outside of RIT's umbrella. So places like SUNY Geneseo, SUNY Brockport, SUNY Potsdam, Hoboskill. There's a full listing on our website. If you are one of our 4+1 partner schools, your minimum scholarship consideration starts at 35%. So those are some of the incentives. And again, if you don't necessarily fit any of those buckets, again, that's totally fine. You're going to be considered for scholarships as part of the process. And again, that range is generally 20 to 50% of tuition. All right, got ahead of myself here a little bit.
Matt, can I just jump in with a quick question?
Yep.
For the time program, we are okay with students starting in the spring, correct?
You can start in the spring, but you can only start part-time. We generally try and work with students, and if you're able to apply and if you want to try and start in the spring, you can, but it can only be on a part-time basis, just given the structure of the program. So if you're able to do that, great. But if that doesn't work, for example, for international students, it's typically not an option because of visa and I-20 requirements. So generally speaking, you would have to look at a fall term for that program. The only program that we do start full-time, generally speaking, is the MBA. So typically the MBA can be started in any semester on a full-time basis. And the rationale with that is how the curriculum and the structure of programs are built. It's hard to start an MS program in the spring, just given how the curriculum is built for those MS programs and the sequential nature of some of the curricular elements there. All right, so we'll start with the MBA, the program and the curriculum and the format of that program. So the MBA is a total of 16 courses. There's 11 core courses, including the capstone course, and then there's 5 electives total. Because the MBA is now STEM designated, you do have to choose 3 of those STEM electives. There's a huge listing that we have. I'll show you a sampling of some of those courses on the next page. And you'll be surprised, STEM is not just science, math, and like engineering type of classes. It's also technical based classes that, again, the technical elements of various courses. So there's a pretty big listing of business courses that are STEM. And then if there are other courses, areas that you're looking at that might be STEM too, that's totally fine as well, as long as the courses are STEM designated. So it is 16 total courses. And again, if you are looking at the 4+1 MBA, that number could go all the way down to 10 courses, depending on how many classes you can get weight. So just keep that in mind as well. And then the graduate electives, those actually can be any course at RIT. So if you have interest in other areas, like I've worked with students in the past that have done sustainability coursework or engineering management coursework that's kind of specific to engineering management and things like that, you can certainly look at those courses as well. So this isn't an exhaustive list, but it is a list of some of the STEM business courses that you could take as STEM electives. So you can see here, We have accounting, bunch of accounting courses, business analytics, marketing, even some management courses, project management, that type of stuff. So there is a pretty big sampling. If you want the full list, our website does have a full list. But again, that list is growing as we add courses or come across courses from other disciplines. Like there's a couple of computer science courses here, the CSCI courses, Foundation of Parallel Computing, and then Data Cleaning and Preparation. Those are computer science courses that we've had students take in the past. So, so there's certainly a lot of options there with the STEM electives. But again, a lot of students will elect to kind of cluster those courses together to create a specialty in an area like marketing. Or if you want to do entrepreneurship and tech, those tech entrepreneurship courses in the MBA, you could do that as well. So supply chain management, that's another one. So those options are certainly there to specialize in something specific. All right, so I'm going to run through these MS programs next here. Now, all of our MS programs can be done in 1 year. They can be done in, if you take the program full time, they can be completed in a 1 year window. Generally speaking, that window is 12 months. So you have to keep in mind that it's across 3 semesters, not just 2, because you'd be doing fall, spring, and summer. So generally speaking, our MS programs are 9 to 12 credits in the fall and spring, and then you finish up, 2 to 3 courses in that summer term. For any student who may want to do a co-op at the graduate level, that is an option. That's something you can look at doing and incorporating into your program. Generally, how that works is you would take 2 semesters of coursework, do your co-op in the summer, and then finish everything in the fall. So it would extend the program by a semester because it's not required. But when you do a co-op at RIT, and I'll get into some other elements of the co-op program towards the end of the presentation. But when you do that co-op, you're not paying tuition, you're getting paid, and you're not taking classes. So it's something that, is very intentional to be focused on, the discipline area that you want to focus on and get further, knowledge and experience. So for global supply chain management, again, it is, your focus and your study is based on, those different elements of the supply chain. Obviously, supply chain management with COVID has been, just in the, in the news a ton, just out there quite a bit in terms of the struggles and some of the things that companies are struggling with there. So this program really focuses on equipping students with the skills, building a strong analytical and quantitative mindset, and understanding what goes into, the decision-making and the analytical components of the supply chain and what different elements, go into that, whether it's global sourcing, exporting, procurement, all that type of stuff. That's something that we really focus on and look at. So it is a very analytical focused program. We focus on the global elements of supply chain as well. So we really want you to understand holistically how those different elements come together. So those are some of the big elements and the focus of the program. It's really understanding those elements and analyzing that supply chain to enhance decisions and enhance the decision-making that you're doing surrounding those different elements of it. Some of the highlighted courses: supply chain analysis, global business analytics, and then export and global sourcing are a couple of the core courses in the program. So keep that in mind as well. And it is a STEM designated program. So for those that aren't familiar with what the STEM designation means, it's for international students. It extends your OPT by 24 months. So a traditional program with no STEM designation gives you 12 months of OPT, occupational practical training in the US. So basically the ability to go find a job. And then that's extended with a STEM program by 24 months. So you have the ability to stay in the US for up to 3 years and work on your STEM OPT. Okay, thank you, Rena. Thank you for jumping on. I'm sorry, I was just reading that note there. All right, so that's really the kind of crux there of the MS in the Global Supply Chain Management program. So the next one is MS, we call it TIME for short, TIME, Technology, Innovation Management, and Entrepreneurship. Again, another 12-month, 30-credit program. It is STEM designated. There's 2 tracks within the TIME program. First is technology management. So that's tailored towards students who are interested in potentially working for an already established company in areas like product development or innovation management. So a lot of companies are looking to leverage the entrepreneurial mindset of their employees. So they have some different areas in the company that are building products, services, whatever that may be, technologies to solve business problems or solve whatever problems might be out there in terms of that development. And that's what that technology management track focuses on. It focuses on those elements of managing those different projects, technologies, and what goes into the product development, product management type of sphere there. The second track is technology entrepreneurship, and that's designed for your traditional entrepreneur who may be looking to begin their own business, or a young business owner who's looking to develop and employ technologies, whether it's to design those different innovative, business models, or if it's to, design, opportunities to solve other problems that may be out there. So I think the key with this program is, and it's in the title, and this was actually a program that we redeveloped, a few years ago. We focus on the technical aspects of entrepreneurship. Okay, so that's a key thing there. Is the technical elements is what the focus of this program is, and kind of again managing those elements and what goes into financing some of that stuff and all those different elements there. So there are two tracks there that you can certainly elect to pursue and declare as you work through that program. And then the third of the MS programs I'll cover. I don't know that I saw anyone mention this program, but I'll go through it quickly here. MS Accounting and Analytics. So this is another 12-month, 30-credit program. It is STEM designated. One of the really cool things with our accounting curriculum is it's very infused with the MIS, the technical and analytical aspects of accounting. That's what we're hearing from employers is they love our accounting graduates because they're getting that, traditional accounting curricular background, but also understanding it from an analytical and information systems perspective. So, information systems are so big from an accounting standpoint, understanding those different elements and what goes into that. And being able to utilize and understand and analyze big data, that's a huge part of accounting. So we developed a program that brought those elements together kind of under one roof. And this program just started last fall. So it is STEM designated, again, 12-month, 30-credit option. And you can see here some of the different highlighted coursework as well for accounting and analytics. So really cool niche program that I don't think you'll find a ton out there that are offering such a program like this. We do ask students, so as we go through the next couple programs, I'll reference this, but we do ask students who are looking at some of our analytics-based programs to come in with some foundational coursework in computer programming as well. So that's not a requirement before you apply. You'll just take some of those foundational computing courses and computer, like introducing yourself to some of the programming languages like R and Python. You'll take those online courses before you begin the program. So Peggy and our admissions team will work with you to identify those courses. They're taught online through Coursera, and it's a 2 to 3 week kind of endeavor just to prep you for the computer programming elements that you'll come across in some of our analytical based programs. And this is one of those that we will look for that background. MS in Finance, this is another one that we would look for some of that computer programming element because the program is now STEM designated. So this program is designed to prepare folks for whether it's traditional careers in finance, like corporate investment portfolio management, or if you want to go more the technical route. So we used to have a program in computational finance. So an area that's often referred to as financial engineer. You can still incorporate some of that, quantitative, financial engineering type coursework in this program because it is so robust with electives. So in this program, you're going to have 4 core courses, a couple foundational courses in finance and accounting, and then the highlighted coursework there, finance in the global environment, and then securities and investment analysis. The remaining 6 courses are electives. So you really have the flexibility to kind of develop a path that is going to work for you. Now, some of those are finance electives, some are STEM electives. But again, if you want to focus on an area like comp finance, it is still doable to weave in some of those courses into our traditional MS finance program, just given the STEM nature of the program now. This is a 31 credit program. There's an additional credit for the comp exam, kind of preparation for the comprehensive exam that is kind of a culminating experience in MS finance, but it can again be done in 12 months. So that 3 semester window there. And again, with the right coursework, probably not the comp finance type coursework, the CFA exam and the traditional kind of finance coursework, you can be on a path, and this program can certainly help prepare you if you are looking at the CFA exam. Part of financial analysis. Then business analytics. So this is our largest MS program. We've had it in place for about 4 or 5 years now. And it's really all about, as you can imagine, data. So leading data strategy, formulation, collection, and again, using all of that information to enhance decision making, understanding big data, how to utilize various tools to analyze that big data, and then use that to enhance any decisions that either your company's making, or you might get to a point where you're kind of leading those decision-making processes. So that's a big part of the business analytics program. The nice thing with the program is it does broadly cover a few different areas of analytics. So you'll take a marketing analytics course, a financial analytics course. There's an accounting type analytics class you'll do. And then there's the foundational data analytics course. Excuse me. And then an advanced business analytics course as well that you'll do. That's the particular course. And that course is actually infused the advanced business analytics course in a couple different programs. And that's where you predominantly see some of those tools used including some of those programming languages such as R and Python. So this program would ask you to complete that preparatory coursework as well. This is, again, it is a STEM eligible program for international students. And again, we do have that part-time online offering for students who are interested in studying online. Obviously, an online program doesn't carry the STEM designation elements because it's fully online. For I-20 and visa requirements, you do have to study on campus for the majority of your program to be able to receive that STEM designation. One of the other big things with our online programs is there is a significant tuition discount for our online program. It's 43% off of the on-campus tuition rate. So there's no scholarships with our online programs, but there is a significant tuition discount for the online offerings that we have. And that'll include those new programs that I mentioned. And then, so I did mention the hospitality program is being refurbished, but you can still apply for hospitality. This is the program that would pop up if you do want to select applying that. Just know that those updates to that program are coming. They're coming down the pike and likely, again, will hopefully be in place by fall 2022. But this is a 12-month, 30 credit program. Basically, the new program is going to have 5 distinct hospitality courses that you'll take, and then 5 distinct elective courses that you'll be able to choose. So you'll have the flexibility to take in and kind of factor in some other business classes that you may want to focus on and then kind of infuse into your curriculum and develop a path that's going to work for you. So the hospitality coursework, again, really looks at optimal services. There's a great analytics course within the hospitality curriculum that you can elect to take. And just, it's really designed, this program, for students who are looking to grow in a career in hospitality, or even career changers who might want to go into the hospitality industry because it is a very, very robust industry, and kind of learn some more of the in and outs of that program and that industry, really. All right, so I'm just going to wrap up here with a couple just key components with co-op career services, different elements that we offer. We have a robust co-op and career services office. You'll have a co-op advisor that will help you whether you want to pursue a co-op or if you just need that career support, you'll have someone assigned to you. Our co-op program is massive, so there's a lot of support and opportunities that you can get involved with. And then there are 2 campus-wide career fairs each year, and a couple of boutique career fairs, 2 specific career fairs in areas like accounting. And the campus-wide career fairs typically happen, one in the fall and one in the spring. And I believe that the spring one is coming up here shortly, I think. And then there's a ton of opportunities to connect on campus with employers, recruiter, alumni visits, and just a lot of great support. So, you know, you'll have that support and you know, be able to really infuse those elements into your program, whether you want to do a co-op or if you're just looking for, you know, additional career services and those types of resources. And then these are just some highlights of, you know, where we've had students kind of in the past go on to work. So we have an alumni right now who did his undergrad and grad degree here with RIT, works for the Cleveland Cavaliers. He does marketing analytics type coursework. We have a recent MBA graduate. She's at BMW doing supply chain type work, product development, operations management type work. We've had students go on to, you know, IBM, M&T Bank, you know, for finance students, Wegmans, obviously very popular one. We had a recent student go on to Amazon. We had a student not too long ago go on to work for Tesla. So a lot of good examples there, a lot of examples of big companies, small companies, you know, great opportunities there. And this gives kind of a snapshot of some of those partners. You know, this is certainly not exhaustive, but you know, some of the highlighted partners we have, some of the big 4 accounting firms too. Our different discipline areas and different segments have college advisory boards as well. So industry professionals that are advising us on things they're seeing in the workforce, so we can stay up to date with curriculum and updates and any curricular changes that we want to put in place. You know, those advisory boards give great advice on that. And some of our programs have been born out of the advisory board. Business analytics was a big one that kind of came out of that, and growth. Accounting and analytics was another one. So yeah, so that's kind of a snapshot there. And then I'm not going to spend a ton of time on the entrepreneurship stuff, but just know RIT, you know, bread and butter to a certain extent is entrepreneurial type endeavors. So if you have interest in building your own business, if you're looking for those types of resources and potential opportunities to work in like an accelerator program, we have that, and we have the ability and backing within our Simone Center for student innovation entrepreneurship to work with mentors and get feedback on, you know, various, you know, elements of your business and how you can grow that and really take it to the next level. We have Tiger Tank competitions similar to Shark Tank where you can pitch business ideas. The Idea Lab business plan competition. The Ventures Creations Incubator is kind of the top echelon kind of, you know, business, you know, ideas plans that RIT works with. We have a consulting group as well, and then the Construct too, where a makerspace where we feature some 3D printing there as well. So those entrepreneurial type resources are readily available and infused in a lot of ways into our programs, especially the MS Time. So a lot of good elements there. And then our dean would not be thrilled if I didn't share that our we are undergoing a significant renovation here coming up, a building expansion, a significant building expansion. It's going to double the size of our building on RIT in the footprint. So we're really excited about that. We're getting really close to breaking ground here. That'll start in the spring. So we're excited to you know, add some really good elements to the building going forward. And you can see some of the snapshots there of the different photos and renderings of the building as well. All right, so we'll wrap up here with the application requirements. Then I see, I do think there's a couple of questions here as well, which I think we'll get into here in a second. So there's an online application that you'll complete right at rit.edu/apply. Obviously, you do have to have a baccalaureate degree from an accredited university. You don't have to have that complete before you apply, just needs to be completed prior to starting your coursework. We do like to see students come in with a working knowledge of algebra and statistics. So if you don't have that coursework and background, that's okay. We'll work with you to get that before you start. Most commonly, we see that we have some Bachelor of Fine Arts students who may not be able to work that into their curriculum, just given the design of the curriculum they have in place. So we'll work with them in advance to get that coursework and content. So it's not something that necessarily is gonna, refute your ability to apply. It is something though that we'll look for prior to you starting coursework. Obviously, we'll look for official transcripts. We do require the GMAT or GRE at this point. There are some opportunities to waive that exam, but that's really minimal at this point in terms of the different options that are available. We do have routes for RIT students who have a certain GPA, a 3.25 or higher, to waive the exam. In some cases, we'll look at waiving the exam based on work experience, but you should really go into it expecting to have to take the exam to apply to really all of our programs from that, unless there are certain areas like being that RIT student with that GPA that would allow you to waive the exam. We do require a personal statement. You'll submit a current resume. We don't require letters of recommendation, so that's one big thing you won't see listed here. I think it may ask in the application to submit one, but you can skip that section. You don't have to submit a requirement. And then we do require the TOEFL or IELTS for international students. We don't currently accept Duolingo. So I know a lot of folks have been taking Duolingo or maybe looking at it, but we've done some assessment there, and we kind of stick to the TOEFL or IELTS. TOEFL scores should be no lower than 88. And then IELTS scores should be no lower than a 6.5. So we do prefer scores there that, as I listed, but we'll still consider students who have the 88 or that 6.5. But yeah, so that's kind of what we look for from an application requirement standpoint. Yeah, so that kind of wraps up. We'll get into questions here in a second.
Matt?
Yep.
While you're on applying, in terms of how early you can apply, would you say that the fall prior to the next fall is about a good time to start?
Right. Yep. So that's as early as you could apply. So 1 year before your intended start date. So you could apply as early as fall 2022 for the following fall 2023 term. You don't have to do that. That's very early, but it's if you want to just kind of know, kind of rest assured as you go through, whether you're like finishing up a program or whatever, you just kind of know that you're in a good spot. You can do that. That's totally fine. A lot of students may wait until that spring term, right before that spring term in advance of applying for fall 2023. But if you want to apply that early, you certainly can do so. 1 year in advance is that start date.
Great, thanks. And then also in terms of applications, not sure if you mentioned this, but if a student might be interested in more than one of the graduate programs, what's the process in terms of identifying your interest and applying for more than one?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So you can certainly do that. Basically, what you would have to do is you can apply for up to 3 programs. You do have to rank order those programs though. So if you have a program that's your first choice, and you may view it as a competitive program, for example, you may be super competitive. You're like, but I really want to pursue this one. Rank that as your first option. Then your second option, you'll rank order that one, and then your third option. So you can, apply for multiple programs, but if you're accepted to your first choice program, you're not going to be reviewed for your second. So just keep that in mind. So if for some reason you're splitting hairs and then you change your mind, it's still good for us to know what your second choice is, because we can easily just move that application onto your second choice and you can be reviewed in line for that second choice program. So there is that option to, apply for multiple programs that is available.
But Matt, it would be one application. You don't have to fill out complete applications.
Now, if you're applying for multiple programs and one of those programs is outside of Saunders, you still can apply with one application, but there may be additional requirements, or there might be different requirements. Like one may require the GMAT, one might not. So, just keep that in mind, but it is just one application, and you'll be able to see that clearly on the application. It'll give you that option to rank order your programs. And if you want to apply to multiple, you can do that.
All right, so staying on this topic of applying, can you speak at all to what we consider any minimum thresholds in terms of GMAT, GRE, GPA?
Yeah. So again, these aren't things we necessarily advertise, and it's a benchmark. It's not required. But for the GMAT and GRE, we look for scores at the 50th percentile. This can be different from program to program too. So that's the other thing you have to keep in mind. Like for our MBA, generally speaking, we see scores actually slightly below the 50th percentile in terms of the average. Whereas business analytics, because of the quantitative nature of that program, GMAT scores tend to be a little bit higher. But generally speaking, we're looking for the 50th percentile. Again, that's not a hard requirement. So if you don't necessarily meet that threshold, that's okay. You can still apply. But it is, kind of what we look for. So for the GMAT, it's around a 580, 590. For the GRE, it's roughly a 305 to 310, roughly. I will say percentile ranks for like business analytics and even a program like finance, and even to a certain extent accounting analytics. A lot of those students are achieving, 60th percentile or above on the quantitative portions of those exams. So just keep that stuff in mind. And again, they're not hard requirements. And we intentionally don't advertise that stuff because we look at applications holistically. So it's one element to the process and one piece. It's an important piece, right? But it's one factor, one variable. And then for the GPA, a 3.0, but again, we've had students that will apply and may have a 2.8, 2.9, but with a strong GMAT score, they get admitted. And vice versa, like maybe a high GPA, not the best GMAT score, maybe they don't get admitted. But, the rule of thumb there tends to be around a 3.0 is what we look for. But again, if you have a 2.9, 2.8, even 2.7, like you can still apply and be considered. Like we're not going to just throw your application out. You're still going to be reviewed.
All right, Matt, and we have a few more questions, but only one that's related at this point to the application process per se. Is there anything else you can share in terms of potential waivers for the GMAT or GRE? The question is specifically, is there a certain number of years of work experience that would put you in a position where we would say, yeah, you know what, we're going to look at this seriously in terms of potentially waiving a standardized test?
Yeah, so again, it varies from program to program, but generally, if you have 4 to 6 years of professional work experience, we would consider a GMAT or GRE waiver. Now, that is by no means a guarantee. And again, it depends on the program that you're looking at and your program that you're applying to. But we have a request process, a pretty, well-established request process in place where you can submit documentation that's reviewed by the committee to be considered for a GMAT GRE waiver. Work experience is certainly a variable. The other variable that I didn't mention, if you already do have a graduate degree, in most cases, we would waive the exam pretty much for all of our programs if you already have a grad degree as well. But in terms of work experience, 4 to 6 years of professional work experience is kind of, what we would look for to be considered for a waiver. From that perspective, by no means guaranteed, but there you could, have a leg to stand on in terms of requesting it from that standpoint.
Thanks, Matt. So why don't I let you continue on finishing the presentation, then we'll address more questions.
Yeah. So this will take probably a minute here, but these are just in terms of next steps and anything. That you have questions on. Again, meeting one-on-one with us, feel free to reach out. I'll put my email in the chat. You can certainly email that address here that we have up on the slide here as well. Note that we do offer fee waivers for students, current RIT students, alumni. Your fees automatically waived. And any of our 4+1 partner students, we will waive the application fee. And send us a note if you feel like you should receive that waiver based on that criteria here. And then I did include a link here regarding a graduate degree that pays off, speaking holistically to the MBA. There's a lot of good research in that, and it speaks to the kind of the debt to income ratio of various programs and kind of looking at that and how really the MBA can pay off in the long term from that standpoint. And RIT is actually cited in this from an MBA perspective in terms of the research that I think the Wall Street Journal published this article. I'll throw that in the chat too, the link to this, but it's a good article to just give kind of a sense of the value of the degree and kind of the return on your investment, really, in terms of what that looks like from that perspective. But yeah, so we can go into any of those other questions as well.
All right, you want me to throw a couple questions at you, Matt?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm going to
So one question is regarding whether we offer graduate assistantships.
Yes, so we do have, we title them graduate student worker positions in Saunders. We do have those opportunities. You would be able to apply for one of those at orientation. So the positions available in Saunders tend to be in support of faculty research. So a lot of our faculty, obviously, one of the big pieces of that is doing research in the areas. So basically, you'll complete an application based on your background. And Peggy Terrell, who I mentioned earlier, works with pairing those GSWs, is what we call them, with faculty in that research. Those positions generally are typically 8 to 12 hours per week. You get paid $15, $16 an hour roughly for those endeavors. And then there's a lot of opportunities to work on campus too in other areas. Like, I know a lot of grad students, may work and achieve an assistantship in a different area. Campus life comes to mind right away. We have various assistantships where students can, support the different campus life endeavors. Residence life is another one. And then also students may work for RIT dining too. We have a lot of students that will just work part-time for them as they work through their program. So there are plenty of opportunities to work on campus, but the most notable for Saunders are the graduate student worker positions that we have. And again, a lot of those are supporting faculty research from that standpoint.
Great, thanks, Matt. So, and then I apologize if I'm not pronouncing this name right, but Iyami is sharing a little of her background or his background, I apologize. And my guess is your preference, Matt, would be to put details in terms of your background into an email, send that to you, Matt, so you can take a look at that and provide some feedback on whether that is background that would potentially qualify for a standardized test waiver.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, you can certainly follow up with an email. I'll put my email in the chat right now. And we can certainly discuss that further for sure.
And Matt, if you're fine with it too, I think you're open to if students do want to unmute and ask any questions verbally. For
sure, yeah. So if anybody does have other questions that they want answered, we've got about 5 minutes left. But yeah, any questions that folks want to unmute and ask, and get more information on, feel free. Okay, so how long is that? So the MBA, again, if you need all 48 credits for the MBA, it would take at minimum 16 months, so 4 semesters, so fall, spring, summer, fall. But again, if you're qualifying for course waivers, and if I remember right, Menga, I don't know if I said your name right, and I apologize if I didn't, but we were talking before the session. You should qualify for various waivers based on your RIT undergrad. And there's certain criteria you have to meet to hit those based on your grades. But so you should probably be able to accelerate the program. So again, if you're able to get a certain amount of course waivers, that's going to accelerate the ability to complete the program. So if you get anywhere from 4 to 6 course waivers, you can get it done in a year. So it does vary on the MBA depending on how many waivers you qualify for. Other questions that folks have? All right, cool. All right, well, again, feel free to reach out. Again, if you want to connect, meet, and discuss things further, definitely welcome that and welcome that conversation. And we certainly appreciate you joining us tonight and jumping on to learn more about our offerings and programs. But we'll wrap it up here. And again, feel free to reach out. But thanks again for joining us. And I will stick around just.
Hey, hi Matthew. Can I ask you something if you don't mind, please, sir?
Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
First of all, I'm from India and very, very good morning.
Thank you. Yeah, I know it's got to be, it's a what, a
Uh,
9.5, 10-hour difference for you?
I have a couple of the questions. First question is that I have more than 7 years of the experience, and I have been working as an assistant professor right now. So, did you consider this kind of the experience also for the full-time MBA program?
So sorry, you were cutting out a little bit. Can you say that again?
I'm asking you. I have been working as an assistant professor, and I want to apply full-time MBA program. So did you consider this kind of the experience also full-time MBA program in your RIT?
I mean, sir, we'll certainly look at it for sure. That's something we'll look at as part of the application process, and it'll factor in for admissibility and things like that. So yeah, we'll certainly look at it. You'll submit a resume, so anything on there we're gonna factor into admissions decisions and things like that.
If you I send you my resume to you, sir. Did you have any pre assist for the resume for the full-time MBA program? If I send you
So
before submit my application.
Yeah, you can certainly send it to me. Sure. I mean, we don't do any like pre-evaluations or anything like that, but you can send it to me if you want. I can take a look at it. But yeah, that's fine.
Okay, can I have your mail ID if you don't mind?
Yeah, I'll put it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
already you mentioned in the chat box. Yeah, take a picture about that.
Yep, I threw it in there again.
Sir, those people having more than 7 years of the experience or something else. See, so did you have also GRE and GMAT waiver, those students?
So again, we would, if you want to apply for a GMAT or GRE waiver based on work experience, you can do that. We don't require work experience for the MBA. But if you want to submit a GMAT or GRE waiver request, you can certainly do that.
Okay.
I will say we don't, it's a very slippery slope in terms of waiving it for international students, but it's something we'll look at and we could review it, certainly.
Okay. Sir, today you received my resume, and please be evaluate and please inform me that I am eligible for the apply MBA program or not.
Yep, we'll do. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you very much, sir, for my question answering. Thank you very much, sir.
Hi, Matthew. Can I ask a quick question?
Sure thing. Yeah.
So you said that we could co-op during, if you want to do like a grad co-op.
Yep.
So you were saying that you could do that because it's 3 semesters and we could like co-op over the summer or something like that.
Yep.
Could we take classes, like if we want to do like 1 or 2 classes, maybe like 6 credits, could we do that while we were on a grad co-op?
Technically, yes. I mean, and actually Peter might be better equipped to answer this than me, but there is the ability, if you did want to take a couple classes and do a co-op, you could. I think there's a specific process that you have to follow, and there might be an exception process or something that you would have to work through, but I know of some students that have done that, yes.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
Yeah, and I can just jump in too. And so just to talk a little bit about the RIT philosophy on co-ops, we ideally would like US students to be working full-time in a co-op and just focusing on the co-op. That said, there's absolutely students that do coursework along with a co-op for various reasons. Sometimes a course is only offered in that semester when you're doing a co-op. So once you get beyond one course along with the co-op, though, we really want to look carefully at that and work with you and work with the program director to make sure that we're not putting you in a situation that really is not going to be beneficial, both on the co-op side as well as the course side. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Yeah, I was just thinking because like I've known friends who have on co-op and just have nothing to do after, so it'd be good to have some coursework to do or something like that. But yeah, that sounds awesome. Thank you guys.
You're welcome. Yep.
Hello, good evening from over here. I have a final question. Is there a chance we could get app waiver codes for attending this seminar?
No, there's no app fee waivers, just for attending. No, sorry.
right.
The
Thank you.
fee is required.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
And just to mention, Matt, it's part of graduate enrollment's requirement, right? Versus Saunders College. So
Right. Yeah. It's a grad enrollment requirement. So it's not something that we have, control over from that standpoint. It's also $65. And I think that's less than a lot of other schools, at least from the research I've done. I think a lot of them are 100 or more. I've seen 200 in some cases. So I do think it's, less than that. But, when I speak to students about the application fee waive, piece of it, a lot of it stems around, we're looking at every student for scholarship too, and we do offer those competitive scholarships. But yeah, it is a requirement from a grad enrollment standpoint.
Thank you. Thank you for
Yep,
that information.
All right, so I'm going to stop the recording now. I probably should have done that earlier. So it's all right. And again, if others have questions, I'll hang on for a few minutes. But thanks again for joining us, folks.